Ninjas. Welcome to this fine Tuesday. That's where I'm recording ahead of time for you beautiful faces. And subscribe! Wait. Okay, I'm threatening myself. That's right. Subscribe. We're actually close to 3,000 subscribers. So just a little nudge to the next goal post is kind of cool. We're almost there. So subscribe. If you enjoy reacts and you like brutally honest criticism and just viewpoints, listen. If you like Destiny or you want to like Destiny, then follow the channel because I love Destiny. And if you love something, you're going to want it to grow and be better, right? And so that's why I give criticism and why I'm hounding Bungie, because technically I feel like Bungie is the problem from Destiny being what it should be. And a good pain point to point out is Edge of Fate. We're going to react to an Aztecross video that I've already seen some of the comments, and it's like, yep, not good. Edge of Fate is probably one of the first expansions in a while that there is no real hype for, and most people are not excited for. Sure. And sure, there's people in their echo chambers with content creators that hype it up, right? That are excited. And if we look, and I already have it up just because we're going to need this data, the data speaks volumes. People are not you could say that this population, let's just play devil advocate and say this whole population is excited for Destiny. That is a small population. Meanwhile, you used to have a large population that loved Destiny, was excited for it, and they're the ones criticizing it because they're looking at this expansion saying, hey, I've left Destiny, or I'm done with Destiny, or I want to come back. I need a reason to come back. And they're like, no, I'm sorry. When only 25% of your population is actually excited, there's a problem. And numbers don't lie. People who are excited for the next expansion are going to want to get into the game, get caught up for the game, and try to get prepared for the next saga. And the reality is most people are not excited because Edge of Fate is lackluster. And I want to say this loud and clear because it's very, very dishonest. It's intellectually dishonest. The quality of life changes coming are free. You don't have to buy Edge of Fate. So bundling it up is incredibly, incredibly egregious. We have an article from Tyson Green, who's literally one of the leads. We've seen that when let's go to the question. Edge of Fate brings a raft of big systematic and quality of life changes. Do you think that's going to be enough in a world where you're looking to bring people back post Final Shape and where players' concurrency is lower than I'm sure you'd like it to be? Yes, as you can tell, it's incredibly low. We've seen that we have a release that is a compelling mix of campaign and story, but also has free systematic changes. Then players take them together as a full product, meaning players are stupid and think that, oh, all these quality of life changes are part of the Edge of Fate, and they bundle together, and then they're excited for the expansion, even though expansion is its own paid content that you don't get. You can get the quality of life without paying. Like, that's the problem. And you see all these YouTubers who are spitting out reviews about the Edge of Fate, and it's just the portal, armor changes, weapon changes, and that's it. Like, it has nothing to do. 90% is about that and has nothing to do with the expansion. So I'm like, where's the expansion? Like, you're kidding me. You can't bundle it together and try to sell it as the Edge of Fate, because that's not Edge of Fate. It's like Rights of the Nine with Heresy. Rights of the Nine is a free event and completely separate from episode Heresy, but people were trying to bundle it together. And it's like, no, are we stupid? Well, we're going to watch this video from Aztecross. We're going to just tons of information. He's getting the pulse on the community, and it's not as good as you would hope, especially for a starter to a new saga. Let's just jump into it.
How are we feeling about Edge of Fate? 1 to 10. Can I get a poll? Can I get a poll on this shit? We've got 9 to 10 hyped, 6 to 8 cautiously optimistic, 4 to 5 mid, 0 to 3.
I'll give it a 5. I think it's mid. I think it's just more Destiny. Here's the thing. If it is like Shadowkeep, like Shadowkeep was pretty mid, right? It was nothing overly impressive. I enjoyed it though, like going through doing the nightmares. It was alluding to the pyramids, the darkness. It was cool. It felt like it should have been more fleshed out and kind of left us hanging, but I enjoyed it for what it was. I think Edge of Fate seems like just more generic Destiny. It seems mid, but I'm not going to say it's shite. I think Lightfall was shite.
Shite. So right now, poll results are coming in, and most of the people are saying they're cautiously optimistic. However, there's more people saying that the expansion looks mid rather than people saying they're hyped. It's actually a lot more people. 27% say that Edge of Fate looks mid to them. Only 10% are at hype.
This is important because this is an echo chamber poll. This is a Destiny content creator whose main audience is people who are looking for Destiny 2. That's very damning when only 10% of this echo chamber is hyped and people are trying to be optimistic. But the fact that literally a quarter is saying it's mid, that is mid to shite. You combine the shit and mid together, the low tier, that's like 30 something percent. And then you've got we want to be optimistic. Wouldn't even pair hype with optimistic because there's a difference. I want it to be good, but I'm going to be cautious about it. I'm not going to full dive into it. Whereas this is straight up like I'm excited. So this is very damning in this echo chamber of people who are probably going to be more optimistic than most of the community. And that's where you have to look at it, is like, even in these echo chambers, there is a substantial number, and it is pretty substantial for an echo chamber to have at least like 30% saying, yeah, this is not good. If this was in the wild, then it wouldn't be as significant. But the fact that this is an echo chamber, usually these content creators have more optimistic communities based around themselves. So it's very, very telling.
Levels. The reason why we're doing these polls like this, we did one just like this last year for Final Shape, and everybody was hyped. Dude, the hype levels were insane last year. And because it's interesting because initially it wasn't. It does the
He's right. It was the culmination. Here's the thing. When they first announced the Final Shape, it was going to be dead on arrival. We had layoffs. We found out that Bungie was doing some scummy shit. We found out, obviously Lightfall was the entire year of Lightfall was just a disappointment. From the campaign, from the expansion itself to all the seasons were just garbage, trash, horrible. And you saw it as the numbers went down, not as much as it is now, but you could see it because we had built up a hype from Witch Queen going into Lightfall, and that number doesn't. No one was excited for the Final Shape. In fact, it was so bad that Bungie had to delay the Final Shape to make sure that it came out a banger. And then Into the Light came out and people were excited for that. There was like some amazing free content. And then they dropped the trailer for the Final Shape and hype was through the walls. Even if you were like mad at Bungie, you were still excited because you're like, okay, now this looks like a conclusion to the 10-year saga that we've been waiting for. Like it was literally a 180 because no one was excited for the Final Shape. No one. I don't think that Edge of Fate will ever come near the hype that the second turnaround of the Final Shape achieved. Like I don't see it happening.
Culmination. Wasn't no duh about it, dude. January of last year, everyone thought it could be over. Think about this. November 2023. Layoffs.
Yep.
2 people leaving Bungie.
Exactly.
Delays for Marathon. Delays for Final Shape. You remember to talk about like morale? January of last year, morale was so fucking low, dude.
Yep.
So fucking low. But then it happened. Guardian Games rolled out. That was the first domino. Bungie started to mix things up. Gave us the skimmer. Didn't think much about it. Just
Pretty cool.
It's kind of cool, man. Then we see Into the Lights. And we were like, what the we finally got a horde mode? Is this real?
Yep.
And it brought back all of these fantastic weapons.
I mean, these weren't just basic weapons. These were some pinnacle level weapons. Like we used to have pinnacle weapon chases like Recluse, Mountaintop, like that used to be in comp. These were the same thing to the next level is how good these. In fact, these weapons are so good. They are still being used. I have every shiny I earned, even if they weren't a god roll. I still have every shiny that I got from this encounter because the hollow foils were amazing. And the guns themselves are amazing with the perk selection being everything about this event was amazing. The only biggest criticism that I continue to give was time gaining the weapons throughout. I thought that was really stupid because people were already spending a lot of time farming. In fact, I would say I didn't even get the 10 out of 10 rolls I personally was chasing for hollow foils. So I would have probably played longer if they had released what I wanted sooner. But that's my small criticism that I had for it. But Pantheon was great. The bringing back sunsetted exotic missions, the two iconic secret missions, the Whisper and 0 Hour, brought those back, and it felt even harder than the original. It was great, right? Everything about it was perfect, and it really lent itself to hyping for the next expansion. Rights to the Nine. Well, I mean, just look at the data. Just look at the data. This isn't like, this is not hype. There's no hype being had here. Like if we look right here in April and May, this is the power of Into the Light right here. And then the final shape came out. 2 months of Into the Light brought so many people back. And here we are with Rights to the Nine. Not impressive. Not impressive at all. I do want to. The reason I'm mentioning this because it's not fair to not address the fact that Into the Light did bring people back and get them excited for the final shape. That is a variable that you need to consider in the equation because Rights to the Nine is not doing justice to get people excited for the for Edge of Fate. I mean, Edge of Fate itself isn't exciting. But the pre-event leading into it is not bringing people back into the game itself. And Into the Light did bring a lot of people back. Okay, I don't know what happened. I don't know if it froze or what. So I'm just going to continue on back to where we were. I lost track.
Years, and they brought them back even better. But
yeah, absolutely.
We get hit with the Pantheon. We've got the Pantheon events, and we've got back-to-back raid encounters going against some of the best raid encounters ever given to us with some slight.
I want to say that Nezarect was such an improvement. I didn't like Root of Nightmares, but I thought that Nezarect was done just like he was actually hard to do. And it felt, especially like we did contest mode with him and I got day one with him. It was a night and day difference trying to beat him this second time around. Same thing with Rolk, though Rolk technically was S tier on its own, but having the shadow clone of him was just great until you figured out you could yeet him off the map, which was hilarious.
Slight twists and tweaks here and there, making them even better. You can't tell me that the hype and the ride going into final shape, there was nothing like it, dude. Nothing fucking like it, man. When we did this poll last year after the final shape showcase, after that Vidog, after the first time you guys saw Prismatic, everybody lost their shit. Everybody lost their shit. And high levels were high, man. Let me ask you guys something. And I think being cautiously optimistic is always the best way to be. Because the last time I went into anything inside of Destiny where I just had blind hype was Lightfall. So,
oh yeah, that is such a huge point to make. That's why I'm not even cautiously optimistic. I think you at this point with how many core people like Chris Proctor and all these other core developers are no longer at Bungie, my expectation is on the floor so that if it does turn out better than expected, it is a nice surprise, right? I can't even be cautiously optimistic because I know how bad things are via the developers saying the environment is toxic and the fact that the leaders aren't listening to what players actually want. And then you have the leaders and like the narrative chick having the audacity to say, we do our job great, even though you haven't been doing your job great. And the narrative has sucked ass for quite some time. It's like we have this entire year where Heresy is just a smidge better than we've gotten because the past episodes were just garbage and no one liked it. And so it's like, how can you go have the audacity to say that we do our job well when you don't? There's clear evidence that you don't do your job well.
Being cautiously optimistic is probably the good side to stay on. However, for my folks, because we had a large percentage of you say that Edge of Fate looks mid, what about Edge of Fate looks mid to you? Or what expectations are not being met for you for this upcoming expansion? No new subclass, no vault space, nothing special at all, no new solar system, nothing new, zero innovation. All of our loot is useless. No more crafting. Same stuff, different destination.
I think out of all these, I agree with definitely the bottom one. Same stuff, different destination. It is the same destiny. That's it.
Reissued gear again. More grinding for the sake of grinding. No Wrath of the Machine. Dude, you know what's crazy? We're going back to the Plague Lands in September. I don't think Bungie's going to drop Wrath of the Machine, or they would have already announced they were going to do
it. It would be a ball tease.
Man, can you imagine the hype levels?
Oh.
So something we try to make very, very clear yesterday in our video on the essentially our thoughts on Edge of Fate.
I'm going to say I watched his video. He got shit on for that video. I never did react to it because I just watched it. He got shit on. It was so scripted. It almost felt like it was handed over to from Bungie themselves. It is just, that's what lends myself to say that a lot of all the hype is coming from the armor changes, the weapon changes in the portal, because everything that was actually the Edge of Fate was so mediocre.
Was that the new abilities, their destination abilities, essentially what they are, right? It's way more interactive than Deep Sights. It is way more interactive than Deep Sights.
But that's the thing. It's more interactive than Deep Sight, but it's a mechanic. You can't call something an ability if it's tied to just a location. In fact, Bungie, even in their interview, talked about how they like this because it makes it easier for the team to focus on the next expansion. Each expansion can be its own thing. It is just them cutting corners so they don't have to do more balancing like a subclass. You can't take the Metroid Prime ability to other parts of the game. And here's the biggest complaint that I have about it being a mechanic versus an ability. Abilities you can take and play throughout the game. You can't with this. You can't just suddenly, I have the ability to do Arc Metroid Prime during King's Fall. No, you don't. And people are out there like, you always it's not mechanic. It's an ability you can just use whenever. But so is Deep Sight. People forget that Deep Sight was used in Savathun's Throne World to get to secrets. Like, this is not new. And it might be more fleshed out, but it can get damaged and you can upgrade it. Okay. It's still attached to the destination and it's going to be forgotten. You're going to act like that you can take this to the rest of the game. You can't. And we don't even know if it sounds like that we're not going to see this in Renegades. Renegades is going to have its own thing. And that's the problem. Once you've done all the secrets, which is the biggest thing that I saw from interviews from Bungie, is that they're focusing on secrets and exploration, which is great. But once you are done with that exploration, you're done doing all the secrets, then what? You don't need to use the ability anymore. Ability. The mechanic. Just like Deep Sight. It's so brain dead because you're paying more for less. You're not keeping these. Sure, the raid is probably going to incorporate some of that, right? I guarantee it will. But outside of that, this doesn't translate to the rest of the game. it's just going to be they're putting so much effort into something that's just going to be forgotten in the next half of the year, right? Look at the Pale Heart. They just said in one of the interviews that people did, asking, are they going to add more exotic perks to the exotic class item? And Bungie replied, no, they don't want people to feel like they have to go back to old content. And that's the problem. Bungie doesn't give people a reason to go back and play other parts of the game. Bungie is making content that is easy for them without them having to put effort into it. Again, don't over deliver, minimal effort for a bit more money, right? And that's the problem that I have with Edge of Fate. They're doing less. They're not innovating. They're innovating how they can get out of actually doing work, and they can minimize how much work they have to do to actually make the game engaging. Because once you're done engaging with the exploration, it's done, it's over, and it's going to be forgotten. Just like the Pale Heart is. Over just a year, we are already moved on. We haven't, hell, we had 3 episodes, and not a single fucking one has encouraged you to go back to the Pale Heart. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that that's part of the problem. People are tired of exploration. People are tired of new worlds for the sake of new worlds. I'm going to tell you right now, I would be okay if they just stopped doing destinations altogether and it was just a linear mission exploration, just a campaign, and that's it. Because then all the work can be going into activities that you could just launch and play instead of it being in the world. Because the world half the time is just useless. It's pointless. No, most people don't give a shit, and don't lie to yourself and say, oh, yeah, I care, because some of you don't spend any time with half the content in the game. How many of you are going around the world doing every lost sector? Every lost sector in the game. You probably only touch it when it involves maybe the Master Legend version, but outside of that, you ain't touching it. Which, pro tip, you don't need the destination to make lost sectors. You can just have now that we have the portal, you can literally have just a spot where you can click the button and just go to the lost sector directly. You don't even need the destination to exist. I know it might upset people. Like, I like the world of Destiny. Then that's the problem. They're not using the world. They're not promoting the world. They're not growing the world. The world is getting stale. It is used for a moment of excitement and then tossed aside. Like, when is the last time you really engaged with Savathun's Throne World? I think it looks beautiful. It is a beautiful, interesting location. Hell, we did use some of it for Heresy when you went to Oryx's shrine, and it has some really cool like scenery, a castle built like on like this dungeon style thing, which makes me upset that they never actually used it for a dungeon, because it looks like an actual dungeon. Like, it gave me some throwbacks to like Dark Souls. But they don't do anything with those pieces of content. They spend so much resources, time, and effort making these worlds that we just never use. And I would rather those resources be used in activities. Imagine, instead of Savathun's Throne World, we just got actual like missions and content revolved around them. Like the whole, like I said, what if they made an actual dungeon out of the Oryx's, not throne, but his monument or whatever. I forgot what the location is, but it's like a castle of lava and all that stuff. And it's really cool. Imagine, instead of it being a one-time use, it's actually in like an actual dungeon that you go through. And that's what I'm saying. Like, Edge of Fate feels like the same Destiny formula. Like, here's a new thing. Instead, we're going to make, instead of new subclasses and other things, we're going to make the world feel like it's a thing. And once you're done with the world, you're done with the expansion. There's nothing left to do. Because they're not showcasing activities. They're not showcasing anything at all to get us hyped about it. Because I'm not hyped about a mechanic like, woo, I can roll around an arc ball. Wow, that's exciting. That doesn't translate. Whereas Prismatic, literally you can use it anywhere in the game. Even with the Final Shape, we got 3 new super light supers, right? And those were amazing. They could have easily done that here, but they didn't. Imagine Arc maybe except for Hunter. You could say Hunter did it. Arc, antimatter, super. Imagine you could just turn into a ball with your super and do like massive damage. Like everyone got the same ability to some extent, except maybe it's tweaked a little bit. They could have done that, and it would have been something to get jazzed about. Like, oh, I can play Metro Prime and Disciple. I can go ping ponging around Rolk as he's chasing me as I'm in ball mode, going around in circles, beating the shit out of Rolk. That would have been hilarious, but you're not going to have those experiences because it's a mechanic, not an actual ability. I know we're beating a dead horse, but I really want to drive home the problem with this expansion, that it is heavily leaning on the free quality of life stuff while itself has no substance. Because once you consume the world, it is now dead. It is empty. It is blank. It is pointless.
But I understand the comparison that's being made there. When I said that the systematic changes that are coming to Destiny are some of the biggest we ever seen, I'm specifically talking about armor, which is a major change. Like without a doubt, the armor, the tier system with the armor, the tier system for our weapons, and the stat changes are some of the biggest systematic changes. And unfortunately, it may not be sexy enough. That's the problem. It's like, ooh, you can go to 200 in a stat and you can get armor sets. All right. That, to me, that's fucking dope. Because I live for.
I do want to make a video about this. And the prelude to it is, yes, I agree with him. I love the armor and weapon changes, especially since it's free.
That shit. But to somebody that's like just here for the eye candy, who wants to see a new subclass or potentially a new rarity, or like a new weapon type, you know what I mean? I know not much has been shown on that front, but like that big ticket item, I get it, wasn't necessarily shown. Put it this way, we can get those things even if we don't pay for the new expansion. So
exactly.
Why pay? Great point. Great point. You're talking about you're talking about the stat armors and the tiers and stuff like that. Well, obviously you can't get access to the new stuff, but sure. And if you guys are on the dare I say the edge about it all, then don't buy, don't pre-order, wait. Chill, see what it looks like, see what Bungie shows us in the next live stream.
I'm gonna be honest, they need to just show a Vidoc. They need to stop doing the couch co-op play. Like no one gives a shit about the YouTube podcast setup. Show people gameplay in a Vidoc, say your piece, and just be done. Like I do think that is what's hurting it the most, truly.
They do, because they've got 2 live streams coming out here soon. Now we're going to redo all of our dim loadouts. All right, Destiny community, let me just hit you with some of this. You guys asked for like D3 features. You asked for a sequel level change, and the armor changes are what I would consider like a D3.
This is a very egregious argument because there's fundamentally a difference from what they're doing. See, D3, it being a new game, let's just a couple arguments I have. First, the main thing is D3 would be its own game. It could have a new engine. It could finally get rid of old gen consoles, which has been holding the game back for years. D3 could also just be a reboot completely of the story. It could just completely reset everything. It could be a prequel. It doesn't even have to be a sequel. They could do a lot of things to reset everything. Hell, they could do a different timeline and just say D3 is a what if situation. What if things didn't play out this way? They could do so many things with a brand new game that they can't do with the existing game and its story. The second argument that I have to say is people complaining about their loot. When you make a new game, it's like let's use Call of Duty, right? Call of Duty every year is a new game. You leave behind the weapons, the skins, everything you grind out, and you move to the new game. You start fresh like everyone else. Why are people okay with that versus like Destiny, where people complain about, right now their loot's going to be useless? Because in the Call of Duty, you can go back and play the game and still have access to all the skins, weapons, and guns, and it will function just the same. In Destiny's case, they're not making, if you were making a D3, you could go back like we can with Destiny 1. I can go back to Destiny 1 and use all my armor, weapons, just as if how it was. Nothing has changed. Bungie didn't get rid of it. It's still there. Whereas the changes that are going on now, and I'm going to say right now, I don't care because I love the changes. But for people who are against it, the argument that is logical is they're being told you don't have a choice. Instead of having a D3 and choosing to leave behind your stuff and you can come back to it, you're being told we're going to make changes and we're going to essentially make all your loot pointless. Whether now or sometime in the future, the loot you've worked for that you want to keep, you're going to have to get rid of it. You are going to have to choose to get rid of it if you want to function with the game. So they're not given the same choice. So it is a very egregious argument to say it's a 1-for-1 because it's not. A brand new game is a brand new game versus what we're going on right now is that we're just putting we're putting fresh paint on a 1980 Volkswagen. Like, I don't even know if they were made back then. I'm just throwing that out there. But you're slapping new paint on an old car. And then you're telling people, well, you can't keep the inside the way it is. We've got to change it for the sake of changing it to make you want to continue to drive the car or be part of the journey, right? That's the problem. A new game, you could still go back in Destiny 2 and play everything the way it is. You're not losing it. Versus how it is now. Instead of getting a new game, you're getting it. Every feature's brought into this game that is kind of run down and kind of been lived its life. And you're being told all your stuff is going to be useless at some point, or if not. And that's what pisses people off. It's you're telling them you worked your ass off for all this. You're happy with what you have. It's all going to be pointless, which I just want to make, you know what? I'm not going to say how I personally feel about it because it's a very elitist take and I'm saving it for a video. So if you want to know, look out for that video in the future because personally, I'm just never mind. Let's watch the video. Holding it, elitist gamer is holding his opinion.
3-level change. That's a systematic change. You can't ask for these things and then get mad when those things come simply because you got to change a dim load.
No, you can get mad because what people are wanting is a new game. They don't want fresh new paint on an old car. They're not asking for that. They're asking for a new car.
Listen, guys, what do you want? Because when you give me your feedback on what you want, I walk away from it. You say things like, we want the seasonal model to change. I take said information. I go to Bungie. I say, hey, they want the seasonal model to be changed. And they go, okay, we're going to try the tonic system. And then you guys.
This is a very strong-armed argument. Guys, you complained about the seasonal features. We're going to change it. But the problem is you're getting feedback on what works and what doesn't work. The tonic system is a worse version of Into the Light. Into the Light had attunement and people liked the attunement. They just didn't like the drop rate because it was unforgiving. And that's why they buffed it at the end and made it more generous. People liked it because you just clicked the button. It was attuned. You continue to farm. You get that weapon. To make this argument is very egregious because tonics was a step back from what we've already received. If Into the Light and the attunement system never existed, then that's a different argument. But because we had something previously that was accepted and appreciated, and Bungie walked it back for the sake of retention and grind. That's all it was. It wasn't for the benefit of the player. It was for the sake of retention and grind. It was very unfun, very ungamer friendly, very time wasting. This is the problem I have with Cross sometimes, is that sometimes he's very in it and honest and thinking, and then sometimes he's being disingenuous. And I don't know if it's intentional, but you can't make these arguments because it's not actually in the benefit of the player or the gamer because we have context. You got to look at historical context of what we've already had. You can't just put your eyes over like, oh, what's this? Attunement exists? Oh, I never heard that before. Like, you can't say that. To say that people like, and maybe he's not trying to make this. He's trying to grasp at some kind of argument to make his point. I get what he's saying is that they're trying to make changes and people are unhappy about it. Like the episodes. Like people wanted something different from seasons. We got episodes. But the counter argument to that is episodes were essentially the same damn thing as seasons, just spread out. And that is part of the problem. And they're all time gated, which people hated that too. And Bungie then tried to experiment by giving an entire act open instead of weekly. And then apparently, with Revenant flopping as much as it did, they got scared and they wanted to maintain retention. But that could have been because of the content itself was the problem. It wasn't the fact that releasing all the content ahead of time was the problem and why time gating, unlocking the time gating failed. It was because the content itself failed and no one was interested in the first place. But we're not having these honest, serious conversations of why things are failing, why people are criticizing. We just want to put all the buckets of criticism, whether fair or unfair, into one bucket and saying, oh, well, look, we did this thing and now you're complaining. See, this is why we don't try to do things. Like that is intellectual dishonesty. And I'm not saying that's what he's trying to do, but this is something that's often done with a lot of Destiny content creators.
Guys are like, boo, this shit. It's worse than the fucking seasonal model. I say, hey, what would you like differently with the next expansion? And many of you brought up the fact that you don't care for destinations. Many of you brought up the fact that you go into a destination, you do requests, and then you leave. And we use
exactly.
Niamuna as a great example of that, where most people do Niamuna for the campaign, for Lightfall, and then they piece the fuck out. And
there's so much content in the game that is just wasted. And if you think that Edge of Fate is going to be any different just because they're focusing on more secrets, you are wrong.
Never go back after they grinded the weapons. So what do? I take said information, I go, Bungie, the people want to invest in the destinations. They want to explore the destination in the world. And then Bungie goes, all right, Metrovania, we're going to give you a Metro.
This is such a dishonest argument. It's so dishonest, man. Hellheart had so many secrets, so many cool missions, the Sith missions, and you can do time trials. Like there's so much to do. Overflow, and we had good loot with that, by the way. Like the exotic sword, the special exotic sword was amazing. So let's just, again, this is a false. This is just a fallacy. It's a fallacy because what he's saying, the Metroid Prime, is still going to end in the same. The outcome is going to be the same, where Bungie is going to abandon the location and never go back to it. Once you've consumed said content, you have no reason to come back. The Metroid Prime is not going to change that. It may lengthen it a little bit, but it's not going to change it at all. It is just it's a bad argument. The problem is that Bungie does not give you a reason to go back. And they themselves have said they don't want people to go back. And via the exotic class items, they're like, well, we don't want people to go back to old content. Why do they not want people to go back to old content? Because they want you to buy the new stuff. If they gave you a reason to go back to the old stuff, you wouldn't buy the new stuff. It is all a business. It is a business. They do not want you to spend time with the old stuff. They want you to continue to invest in the new stuff. Give them money. Shut up and give me your money. That is it. That is the bottom dollar. It is cheaper to continue to focus on new stuff and never invent new stuff for old stuff. And because let's be honest, if they went back and made you want to go to Nessus, they couldn't make you pay for it unless it's a season, which we know seasons are free now. That means it would be free. And free is considered over delivery to Bungie now. And if they're over delivering constantly, then they lose out on money. And they can't lose out on money. It's just, and you could, and yes, they are a business, but that's what the MTX is for. They're already nickel and diming you with expansions. That now they're still going to do the battle passes for money, and now you're also paying bonuses. All the MTX they're cranking out. Let's not be dishonest. Fortnite is 100% free, and it has millions of players for free, and they have MTX to supplement the free. There's no way that Bungie could not use MTX to supplement more free stuff, to reinvest into the older worlds, to make you give a shit. That's the problem here. You are never going to say Destiny. You're never going to make Edge of Fate enticing if you're just going to abandon the zone. The fact that Edge of Fate, the precipice, the pinnacle of what the selling point is that you turn into Metroid Prime and explore the world. That's the selling point that they're trying to sell you, is you get to turn into an arc ball and do secrets and woo exploration. Who gives a shit if in a month later after playing it, you're already done and you're moved on? Who gives a shit? I didn't want to pay $40 for something that's going to be in the game that I never engage with. Like, I cannot tell you how long it's been since I went to the Pale Heart. And it's objectively a great location, fun secrets, great stuff, but there's no reason to go back. There's no reason to go back because Bungie refuses to invest in its own world. And that's why people just are tired of destinations. If you're not going to invest in destinations, remove the destinations. Get rid of it. Just have the destination be the campaign itself. I would rather be that, because that means more effort is going into the missions and the activities that stay than the destination that is just never touched. It is so pointless. Like, I'm thinking of Diablo 4. Most of the area in Diablo 4 is being used to some points. In fact, they have random areas, like events that pop up, and you do it for experience. You do it for gold. You do it for rare drops or to level up. You don't really do that public event stuff unless you're just working on a bounty to prep. And then once you do that, you never engage it with that content until like a year later, right? And that's the problem. I know this is a long video and we're ranting, but I feel like this encompasses my true thoughts about the Edge of Fate and why it not only will not bring players back, it will not save Destiny, but even it won't get very many sales. I think Edge of Fate will probably be a failure, especially with Lightfall being considered a failure and it had massive players. And even the Final Shape taking the L, even though it was an amazing campaign, it failed to meet Sony expectations, which led to more layoffs. I do see more layoffs in the future. I do. I see Edge of Fate not meeting sales, and I absolutely do expect to see more layoffs in the future. Not because I want them to, but because the reality is the hype and the data, the historical context, if you look at it all together and make a logical assessment, things do not look good.
Metroidvania style or whatever, Metro Prime, I don't know what the fuck it is. I didn't ever play the games, but that's the take. And then you guys are like, boo this shit. I don't want to play that boomer ass fucking Metroid games. I don't know, maybe some of you did.
Again, this is a fallacy. This is a false equivalency. This is not a good argument because it's just insulting people who have general claims. Because I don't care. I'm not out here anti Metroid Prime. I'm out here. Why is this the highlight of my purchase that doesn't translate to the rest of the game? And that's how most people feel. Like Bungie's trying to show this as abilities when it's just a world mechanic. That's all it is. It's almost like saying Vex teleporters that you go in and out of is an ability when it's just a mechanic built into the area that you're exploring.
Some of you fucking played it. I am actually never played it.
Oh, launch pads? That's an ability.
Hasn't Marathon been in production for 6 years now? If Bungie can only get this much shit done in 6 years, how am I supposed to trust them to make quality Destiny 3 in 3 to 5 years?
Bingo.
The difference is that it's not an entirely new game. Destiny, the bones of Destiny 2 is still going to exist, and that's essentially what the D3 is being. When I say a D3 is coming, I'm not talking about you're going to get a D3 in 3 to 5 years. What I'm saying is the features that would be in a Destiny 3 will make its way inside of Destiny 2, and this is a step in that direction with the whole armor and stuff.
And I don't think it is the fallacy of building a brand new building on a broken foundation, an old foundation. What happens to old new buildings on old foundations? The foundation falls apart and the new shiny falls apart with it. That's the problem. You can't keep stacking new stuff on the old because eventually you're going to have an issue. you got to rip it and make a whole new foundation.
That changes.
And we're seeing this with the game breaking. We're seeing this with multiple issues. Like, hell, we're still supporting old gen consoles, which makes no sense at all. There's so many errors. The engine is old and outdated. It can barely run anything.
I completely understand why something like that is not sexy. It's not sexy to you. A new subclass coming, that's such an easy sell. Hey, should I buy this expansion? Do you want to play with the new subclass? Yeah, then you better buy. You know what I mean? Like, such an easy sell.
And it is, he's right. Beyond Light, Stasis. People wanted it. Lightfall. That was the big selling point that kind of baited people in. And even after Lightfall was just a dumpster fire, one of the key features was people loved Strand. Even though everything else about Lightfall was ass, Strand was the pinnacle. Like, we love Strand. Prismatic for the final shape. As you can see, these are key selling points that encourage people to get excited. I'm sorry, no one's going to swipe their card just to turn for a mechanic to turn into a ball and go ping pong against enemies. No one's going to be that excited. I'm sure there's a small faction of people, but most people with a brain will realize, yeah, this is a mechanic. I'm not gonna bet everything on just one mechanic to give them my money.
Another easy sell, new rarity of weapons. If there was like an actual like mythic or black armory tier, you guys would be like, I'm buying. Let's fucking do this shit. The problem is that these changes that are coming are necessary changes, truly are necessary changes.
Free, by the way, all these changes are free.
For the long-term health of Destiny. However, they don't have the same appeal as a new subclass or a new rarity.
You know what's the crazy thing about new subclasses? They're usually part of the paid product.
You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily have that at least initial appeal. So why didn't they just do more system changes and just do the content later? You're telling me, hold on. If Bungie came out and said, hey, guys, for the next year, we have no content rolling out. Nothing to push the narrative forward. We're just going to do quality of life updates for the next year. Some of it's going to be really
boring, but it's necessary. 120 pre-order available now. So this last part is, again, a fallacy. First off, these should be quality of life is free. So there's no, hey, for the whole year, if you're working on fixing the base game, let's be honest. Let's be really honest here. This is your player base right now. You have nothing else to lose. You have nothing else to lose. You already net negative. You already losing. So the concept of taking a year off is going to kill Destiny. It's already there. What the fuck are you talking about? In fact, if you did free updates like the armor that's actually engaging, then yes, people will come and play for those free updates, especially if it's free. Imagine that. I think they need to. They need to take a year off. The game is too bloated. The game is too chaotic. They need to work on onboarding for new players. They need to work on cutting some of the fat that is just wasting space. I mean, if you were to say we're going to get rid of destinations, I'm okay with that. Get rid of Nessus. Nessus is not used. Keep all the strikes and any activity outside of just the destination itself. Get rid of it. And if you want to take some of that content and make missions out of it, like here's an iconic slot of Nessus. People loved this lost sector, or people loved this content. Make it a mission so it's preserved, but you're trimming the fat. And that could be free quality update, and I think that would be great. And you know what? If they supplement it with MTX packs, I would be okay with that. I would, because they're fixing the base game. And I understand they need to make money. I would actually support them. I would actually buy MTX if they were releasing constant free updates. They weren't releasing paid content. They were just focusing on trimming the fat, fixing the game, making sure everything is updated, making sure you give a shit about the world. I would swipe the card and support them for that, because that takes time and effort, and the willingness not to, make egregious amount of bank from campaigns and whatever else drivel they would put out to try to make money. You're not going to lose more players. These people are your most dedicated players. What's here currently is people who have probably been around for years, or they are your most dedicated. You're not losing any more. You might lose more, but you're really not. I mean, consistently, if we look at the numbers, we're around 20K up mid. This is pretty much it. This is the people who are playing Destiny and would play Destiny are playing Destiny. Whereas you've already have all these other people who have said, peace, I'm out, because you're not doing anything new. You're not making the game better. And that's what they need to do.
Really, really boring.
The whole setup is just disingenuous. It's intellectually dishonest. And I disagree with his argument, because it's very, just strong arming you into this disillusion that it would be a bad thing, and that, oh, hey, we're going to make you pay a pre-order bonus, yada. Like, it's all just meant to make you think, oh, wait, I don't want that. When actually, the reality is it would benefit the game.
Boring, but it's necessary. Goodbye, player base. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, player base. Goodbye. Again, this is a strongman argument. It is based in emotional manipulation. We have data. The facts are already here. The player base is already gone. Bye. Hello? They're gone. Bye-bye. They're already gone. They are already gone. Again, don't be deceived by people who are trying to strong arm you and manipulate you and deceive you. And I'm very upset that Cross is doing this. It's very intellectual dishonesty. It's so dishonest, because that's not true at all.
Goodbye. I see you guys at 2027. That's exactly what would fucking happen. The player base is already gone. TBH.
Thank you.
Whoa. You know what? I'm tired of all this shit talking right now.
Yeah, there it is.
The Power World's beating us, and Overwatch 2. But we're beating.
Wow, isn't that crazy?
In Farming Simulator, look at that shit. Yeah, you Farming Sim. And look at Monster Hunter Wilds. Lol. Look, we can go on and on about the numbers. I get it. People.
Isn't that, bro? You can't be like, you can't bye player base, and then someone calls you out, and you're like, well, let's just not talk about that. Come on, Cross.
We're not playing as much Destiny. This is kind of what concerns me a little bit. This is just Google Trends, right? We're around here. Hold on. So in May, we got to about a 20. Right here, 24 around February. That's when the new season launched. All right. This was finer shape. It was popping, baby. Shit was popping. Beat out Lightfall. Beat out Witch Queen, man. Pop.
No, it didn't. I don't know what he's looking at, but it didn't beat out Lightfall. So let's see. Let's go look at the actual data. Unless they're talking, because that is based on Steam. I don't think it's based on console. Let me double check. Is it based on console? Like, how would you have the console numbers? This is 5 years interest over time. So this is interest. So this isn't even, so this is deceptive. I'm going to say this right now. This is deceptive. This is interest, but it's not, it does not say players. You can be interested in it, Google searching, et cetera, but this is very dishonest. This is not the data you should be looking at. Well, definitely not Halo. Sorry. God dang it. This is. And yes, this doesn't include consoles, but consoles are not too much different. People have this delusion that consoles are much different. And the reality is, I forgot, in Revenant, we actually someone found a way to get console numbers, and it was pretty low. It was pretty much around the same across the board. It was like 70K, what was it? Oh, about 70K or something altogether with all consoles. At the time, it was like 18K on Steam. So altogether it was 70K. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. People think that this is not accurate because of consoles. It's about the same. It's relatively the same. Console players don't just turn their brain off and say, oh, PC people complain. We're just going to turn our brain off. No, they've got free stuff. I mean, Game Pass on Xbox alone is going to make anyone turn off Destiny. Like, what are we talking about?
Baby, shit was popping. Beat out Lightfall, beat out Witch Queen, man, popping, brother. So right here, we don't compare it to May of last year because that's whenever the game was launching, or June was whenever Final Shape was launching. So we don't compare to that. But okay, so we're operating right now. We're at about roughly a 15. Okay, 16, 15, 16. Maybe you say with upper 20. Whereas last year we were consistently starting here above April the 7th, above a 30 at all times going into the expansion. Are we at an all-time low? Actually, no. Our lowest low was here, December 22nd to the 28th. We were at a 9. By the way, this obviously doesn't tell the complete story. This is purely just traction. How many times people were dialing in looking for Destiny 2
Okay, thank you. Okay, he corrected it. Great.
Content, but it is an indicator. It definitely is an indicator, or you wouldn't see these spikes here with each one of these big annual expansions. You see where I'm coming from? You can go back. Every one of these spikes coincided with the release of content, if not a release, some sort of big reveal. So without a doubt, we're this territory right here, up in here. That's no bueno. That's no bueno. All right, so this is showing the average. We had 77,000 players in January 2025. So hold on. Look at this, pre-Lightfall. So I would say April 2023 going into May, solid. Look at this shit. Hold on, look at this shit. 145, 126, 87, 120, 190.
You got to think Witch Queen was amazing. It did so much. Crafting came out and people loved that. People were engaged with the story and the raid. Like Valve Disciple was chef's kiss as a raid. It was probably one of the best raids in the game. Like it scratched all the itches. It was the first time they introduced a legendary campaign. Like it felt really good. The enemy type, like the Lucent Hive, having Hive Guardians was so badass. So like it makes sense.
92, 142.
Lightfall just kind of
316, 96, 121. Lowest got down to 60K, 102, 150, 193, 103. Lowest 88, lowest 78, lowest 76. Yo, these are fucking fantastic numbers here on Steam, man. Oh, you can actually, okay, here we go. June 2023, 62K. May, look, you gotta understand, Lightfall wasn't considered shit. There was some beginnings of it, but there was still some level of optimism. You know what I mean? So May, 78, April 87. Okay, that's Lightfall. February 72, 63, 62. Damn, 38, 59, 88, 68, 54, 70. So it isn't always 70. All right, fast forward to where we are now.
Yeah.
27, 22, 30. Expansion dropped. Season.
You can't beat data.
January 18, December 20, 30. 36, 25, 35. Look, guys, you can't sit here and say we cooking, baby. You know what I mean? You can't sit there and say that. And look, I'm not blaming anything. I mean, look, it's a variety of things. And again, you guys have brought up a great point. A lot of people saw Final Shape as the ending for them. The issue that we're faced with right now is that,
which is lending itself to why people want a Destiny 3, is because we just ended this main story. Continue to be. It's like if Avengers Endgame, you know, they smashed to the end. You know, Thanos is defeated. They save the world, and then it smashes to black. And then right after, just before we go into another story, you're like, what the fuck? What? I thought this is Avengers Infinity, and now we're doing Avengers Doomsday, right? Like it continues on. You're like, what? Huh? What is it? What? It doesn't make sense. That's why people do new movies, because it's its own thing, which is what Destiny 3 should have been, instead of what we're getting. We're just adding more on top of it, what's already like been there.
Maybe not for consoles, but for Steam, it's a downward trend, man. Now the good thing
consoles is downward trend too.
October 2024, which was the launch of Revenant, you had 36,000 average, right? Whereas February 2025, we have 40,000. So there is an uptick season to season. And for good reason, Heresy is a good season. But regardless, though, it is lower.
It is above average season. It was the narrative sucked ass and the Nether got redundant. And most of the content is not just, most of the content was the Nether. That was it. And that's the part of the problem. It got very stale very quick.
Numbers. All right. Anyways, we probably yapped about it enough today, guys. I just wanted to gauge y'all's thoughts, how you feel about it. There definitely seems to be some pullback in the scope of content, of which we did bring up in the video where we said that there's definitely a pullback. The biggest selling points are the systematic and sandbox changes. And here's the thing, man. It's a good chance that may not be sexy for you. Now, if you're in for the...
Well, yeah, it's not... The systematic changes is free. So why the fuck would someone be excited and think, man, Edge of Fate is sexy? It's fucking free. Edge of Fate isn't.
Lore and the story, you know, we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. And hopefully it's compelling enough for all of us, as that's going to be setting us up for the next few years. This expansion being incredibly important, as that's going to set the tone. But there's no big ticket item. There's no, here's the new subclass, or, you know, something super crazy. And I think I've even seen a few comments that people don't seem that impressed with Kepler either. Am I hyped for Edge of Fates? I'm cautiously optimistic, and that's where I always stay, guys. That's where I always stay.
You've got to nowadays.
I'm cautiously optimistic. I said it yesterday in our video, though, that the whole Metrovania style may not appeal to you. And it is a different take. But it's Bungie trying something. Maybe not being...
Again, I don't think for most people, them doing that is the problem. It's just like Deep Sight. It's just part of the exploration. But the problem is it's like, instead of Savathun and the Hive Guardians being the center point, this iconic villain that we've heard from the lore, building up to it, it's as if it's almost in Bungie, the highlight of the Witch Queen was the Deep Sight mechanic. They tried to sell the Witch Queen based off the Deep Sight mechanic. Guys, we've got this ability called Deep Sight. You're going to be able to do secrets. You're going to explore with it. Isn't that awesome? That's the problem. It's a night and day difference. And yes, is the Metroid Prime going to be more fleshed out? Oh yeah, but it's essentially the same damn thing. In the premise of it's being used for exploration. The one thing that's different is that you can actually use it for attacking ads as well, right? It's like a Deep Sight, you also got powers with it, which you don't. So it's only like half it. It's like an evolution of Deep Sight, but it's still an explorative mechanic that is tied to one destination that you will finish and never touch again, because Bungie doesn't go back intentionally and touch these old areas. They don't give you a reason to play old content. The problem is still there. That is why Destiny will not be saved. That's why you will not bring people back, because it's the same old shit and we're not actually innovating. And you could make an argument, well, you're talking about the same old Destiny, but you want a reason to go play old content? Like, yeah, a lot of these areas we paid for. At some time, you probably paid for the Pale Heart. You paid for the Beyond Light area. I paid for the base game when it came out. I would like to see Nessus get some love. In fact, I thought they were going to give it love in Echoes because they showed it changing. And I thought, oh, cool, they're changing Nessus. And then you came out to find out that it's not even a real thing. Nessus is still the most generic ass location. Do I still like it? It's still generic. They didn't give you a reason to actually go back and play that content. Nothing that is staying, at least. Nothing that's fundamental to going back and exploring these worlds. There's no reason to. And that's why I'm very cynical about this, because they're advertising this as the selling point. Secrets and exploration, guys. Who gives a fuck? Because you don't. That's the problem. Bungie does not care about the world, which is why they're hiding it. That's why there's a world tab off in the corner. They're not innovating on it. They're not touching it. They're moving to the portal system because they don't care. They're not touching anything about destinations. Destinations are just there now.
Being bold in the way you want them to be bold, but it's them trying something. Who knows? We may get in there and maybe you guys love it. Maybe you guys are like, dude, this is dope. I love exploring territories and areas with these abilities and
let's play devil's advocate. Let's say he's right. I have a great time doing the puzzles. Like, I like puzzles, by the way. Like, I love exploring the Pale Heart. I love doing Savathun's Throne World. Like, it was so fun. So let's play devil and say, yes, I'm going to fall in love with the Metroid Prime. But the problem is, at the end of the day, the results are the same thing. You do all the content, you consume it, and then you never touch it again. You're not invested in the world anymore than consuming the content. Well, why don't you just take your time? What? The speed at which I consume the content does not change the fact that the result is still the same. I could beat it all in a week. I can beat it all in 2 weeks or a month or 2 months, but the result is still the same. Once you are done, you are done. There's no reason to go back. Just for the people who are fucking stupid who want to use the argument of, well, you guys consume the content. You're never happy. Bitch. It doesn't matter what rate you play the game. The result will still be the same.
We'll see, man. Slap that like button like your mama.
I'm very disappointed because this is such a I'm sorry. I'm not signed in. I would dislike the video. It's just so dishonest. Let's see what the comments are saying. The worst thing that Bungie has ever done is talking to YouTubers like Aztecross, people who literally play this game for a living for feedback. What? Yeah. Why not? Who do not represent the community. Exactly. Amen. I'm sorry. I don't know if it was just this is sarcasm, but honestly, it's true. I always used to pre-order the expansions and was a huge fan of Destiny, but sadly, there's nothing pulling me or falling in love with it, especially with most of my friends being done and uninstalling the game, also making it hard to come back with friends I play the game with over the last decade, not around anymore either. It feels like Bungie's forced me to either grind like a pro or leave. It's a nice fresh coat of paint hiding the rotten floorboards. That's also good. Bungie needs to understand that this game was built to be a fraction of what it is, and it doesn't really matter how much they pile on because the new stuff is pushing the systems developed in the original vision to the limit. Destiny needs a game built from the ground up, be what Bungie wants it to be. The spaghetti code and server load will just keep bloating and making it harder for the devs to do basic patches and bug fixes because everything is loaded onto ancient, which is why they're doing this new mechanic ability because it's easy for them to ignore and forget it. Unlike subclasses where you have to completely balance the whole game around it, it's easy to be like, hey, here's a mechanic to this world that you're going to ignore in like a couple of months. A lot of it really falls on the last comment. People, myself, saw the final shape as a good, definitive end after a long while. It was a point where you get off the bus. There will still be more stops, but you're fine where you got off. There would need to be, okay, let's not be gentle. I'd only come back for a new game. I've had my fun. I've seen the end. Only something new would inspire me. Changes look fantastic. Narrative looks interesting. I'd be hyped in the past, but I'm already off the bus. I'll watch it. Okay, so honestly, imagine they actually expanded the whole last city aspect of Earth, actually showed mankind expanding and working towards retaking Earth, fighting back against the Fallen, or even converting them to allies. Show the fruits of the last 10 years instead of it still being post-Red War. For everything except DLC planets, it's jarring to still only have EDZ and a Cosmodrome on Earth, and I guess mankind just decided they're forever living in a fishbowl collectively. True. Honestly, I'm finally ready to let this game go. I'd come back for a D3 and a fresh start, but it sounds like Bungie missed that opportunity. Glad it ended strong with the final shape, though. They'll never be able to top that. Cross, I'm an avid Bungie hater, but Pantheon and everything leading up to the final shape actually was super hype. That's the most rating I've ever done to Destiny and probably will ever do. Unfortunately, what a glorious couple months it was. The solution to power creep should not be to put a permanent, unmoving cap on power and let us walk up and touch it every 6 months before dragging us back down to do it again. I'm generally feeling really positive about things. The difficulty customization, free, being rewarded with better loot, free. It is the most interesting, excited about. I love the pre-nerf counterfeit thing, like oscillation. So I'm really interested to see what most of this stuff is free, except for the Metroid stuff. I want Bungie to respect my time and money that I've already invested in the game, and I want them to respect my time and money, investing for the future. And I think they don't care about everything I've already done. They just care about what I'm going to give them next. Exactly. It's not about what they can give you. It's about how can they get you to give them your money. Things I'm worried about are someone that grinded 12K hours since D2. When we have grind armor at tier 5, what does Destiny's terrible RNG come into play? I will be exhausted. It's going to be there. That's not changing. People think that tier 5 means you're going to get god rolls. You're not. I'm honestly really excited for the Edge of Fate, as I've been a huge build crafter and getting these new armors. You can get new armor. You may not be able to get the campaign armor, but you're still going to be able to get armor without actually having to do the campaign. Like, these changes are free. I'm hyped for the narrative and armor weapon changes. Hope it delivers. Again, this is the problem. People are putting it together. Edge of Fate is not the quality of life. It is completely separate. This is why the developers think that the Destiny community is full of morons, like absolute brain dead, rotted zombies, because they do bundle together. As a PvP mainly, I haven't purchased anything since the final shape and don't intend to. The PvP strike team seems to be gone already with nothing new. Yeah, by the way, they announced that there's no PvP new maps coming to the Edge of Fate. So it's like PvP has not been addressed or talked about. So it doesn't make sense that you're not going to work on some of these fundamental parts of the game because they're free, because you really just want people to give you money. Cautious, expect the worst, but hope for the best. Yeah, I'm not even hoping for the best. I'm just expecting the worst, and I'm letting myself be surprised. Wish they have closed curtains on D2 and just confirmed D3 in the works. The game needs a fresh start. It doesn't matter how good the system changes are. I'm not going to come back and play an expansion that isn't appealing just to take advantage of system changes. If Edge of Fate had more to offer, then sure, armor and weapon changes would be the cherry on top and get me more hyped. It's essentially, is the expansion itself isn't what's hyped. It's the changes, systematic changes. But why the fuck would I give them my money when I can just enjoy the systematic changes for free? New aspects, new fragment, not having only one May option void. Yeah. Destiny made me think I didn't like video games more. Expedition 3 made me remember that I love video games. True. Yeah, I mean, that's a bit there was major issues with episodes, especially tonics. You also stated that all the things that players mentioned haven't been addressed in a long time, giving unique role class items, ergo sums, but not giving a large amount of vault space with it, or giving us some way of storing them separately was a misstep. They also never innovated on Prismatic like they said they would. That's true. They said that that's a possibility to expand, and now they're saying we're not innovating anything for previous stuff. We're not looking to change things. It's just, again, I like that there are intelligent people who are like, yeah, that's disingenuous, because it is. That's what it is. There are some great changes, retooling, blah, 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 blah. However, I want a new place to have our adventure. If the whole year is just returning to locations we played in ad nauseum, that is where people are at, I think. They sort of hinted at the concept. Hopefully, this is the direction we're going. A refresh of the game, I think. That's not the problem. The problem is I would be okay going back to previous content for free if there were a reason to play. I would rather we get no more destinations except for in the story campaigns themselves and just the activities. I would rather that than having more locations that we'll just never go and engage with except for bounties, or because a season makes you go touch X, Y, and Z in a corner of a map. That's all it's been. Like, Nessus has been just go touch things in the map for episode echoes. Pale Heart hasn't been touched at all. Like, we haven't done any content in the Pale Heart for at least a year. The game has absolutely no pull for new players. New players are needed to keep the game alive. Games that deny this are destined to fail. Bungie consistently burns bridges and put in minimal effort. They don't add meaningful content. Gear really isn't content at this point. Some localization ability for one location is actually such a bad idea. It doesn't add anything meaningful and becomes a gimmick like Deep Sight. There literally could have just been tons of strikes instead of tons of these mini season activities, and they would have been fine. Make a playlist specifically for those in the community would be happier. These people will try random off trash ideas each season and then wonder why no one wants to participate after they got their gear. They literally never commit to any of their ideas, and every season has consistently felt like some random crap that will never revisit. Then, if it's something that everyone enjoys, they vault it after a few months or can't capitalize on it because they plan out a year's worth of content in advance. This doesn't even consider the fact that they seem to push more and more for min-maxing with every expansion, which further alienates new players. I get it, get good, but when you don't have new blood and you don't bother to even try to get new blood, you're just going to lose the community as a whole after a while. We're tired. We had our fun. We had our memories, but this isn't the Bungie that makes good games anymore. This is Bungie that doesn't want to put effort, but wants your money anyways. This is a perfect conclusion to this video. This is Bungie right here. This is it right here. This is the encapsulation of Edge of Fate right here. What a perfect way to capture the sentiment. You're not the guys everything under as trying to make the game new player friendly, but they actually do the opposite. Like armor changes is not new player friendly. It's actually very unfriendly. It's great for me, which I'll talk about. But weapon changes, all that stuff. The portal is a little bit more new player friendly, even though it's not really helping people. Like it completely dismisses all the content in the game. Like there was no raids. I didn't see anything about like story, like none of that. There's nothing for new players. It's very weird. But overall, I don't think that Edge of Fate I don't think it'll be successful by the standards of Sony. Like if the final shape did not meet expectations and they had layoffs, it would be very logical to say you should expect more layoffs from this. Until we get new information like the trailers and stuff, this is my final thoughts on Edge of Fate. Like this is the encapsulation. Don't get baited. The systematic changes are free and they should not be bundled as the expansion because that's not what you're paying for. You are not paying for systematic changes that is free. Look at the paid product. It's like going to a restaurant and ordering a burger and then they give you really nice like utensils, like really unique utensils. You're like, oh man, this is really cool, man. Whew. Man, they really, that was the best money I spent because look at these utensils. They're really cool. And you got them free anyways. The utensils are free. You just go over, grab them. You got them. You can use them for your meal, toss them away. But they're free. You could get those utensils even if they're free. Now, some restaurants might frown on you just taking it, but you get the point I'm trying to make. I'm sure there's a better example than that, but that's just off top of my head. You get it anyways. It's not like the fact that people are so hyped and the hype is just the systematic changes. Like you're not really hyped for the Edge of Fate. You're just hyped for the game improving or changing. But this is a long video, but this is my last video on this topic until we get more information. And then I will give you my thoughts on that. Unless there's new information coming out, we're done. So I think this is a great way to end it. I appreciate you guys. And this is not Destiny 3. Don't let anyone deceive you saying this is Destiny 3. It's not. Fuck off. You don't know what you're talking about. They're just gaslighting you. This is not Destiny 3. This is still Destiny 2 with a new coat of paint. That's it. Until next time, don't forget to be the best version of yourself. And until